And John, I also want to point out, guys, if you have not seen the movie They Live, John Carpenter's excellent cult film from the late 80s, I highly recommend you check it out. It's as relevant now as it ever was when it first came out. In fact, I think John Carpenter has been a very prophetic individual in many ways in terms of his filmmaking. What I will tell you, John, about the commercial real estate ghost towns that exist, especially in places like California, is what RFK has said time and time again, which is BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. We have a private equity crisis in this country when it comes to economics. When we're talking about the ultimate free market playing field, which is, of course, commercial real estate, there are no regulations. It is everything that Ayn Rand had preached and Milton Friedman had advocated for in academia. There are no rules. There are no laws. You can buy as much as you want. You can own as much as you want. And you can destroy communities because at the end of the day, everything's bought in cash and it's asset rich, which means they don't care if they make any money on these properties. They'll hold it. They will hold it for decades if they have to, until the market eventually swings back in their direction again. And all the while, these communities get destroyed. People, you want to know why suicide is so high in this country? Economic depravity is one of the biggest reasons why people end up killing themselves. And the people that own these mega corporations, they don't fucking care. Why would they? And they buy off all the politicians, because let's not forget, California is super majority Democrat, and they're all bought off by the same people that buy off the developers in red states like Florida, red states like Tennessee. It's the same problem everywhere. You are a fucking fool if you still think that there is some benevolence between the two parties. There isn't. In some cases, you get the wedge issue, which doesn't actually affect all people every day. That's different. Democrats are better on abortion than Republicans are.
But not really.
But are they really?
They're not doing anything about it. So in theory, they are better on it. Absolutely. If you ask your run-of-the-mill Democrat, they'll have a probably, more in line philosophy with you. But the Democrats in leadership, they're not doing anything about it.
And Toys R Us, Chris, is a great example of many layers within the commercial real estate industry that have been completely decimated. Because to me, I don't even think Toys R Us is the best example. The best example to me is still Walmart. And the second best example is Amazon. What they do is they go in and they destroy these towns. Who in the hell do you think funds these organizations? Just go in there and start them up. That's who holds the capital. Then you have the big banking system, which is led by Bank of America and JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo. The fact that Wells Fargo is still in business is incredible. And Wells Fargo is the very first national bank of the United States. And it's still standing today. But what they did to their customers, the amount of lives that they ruined, but nobody pays a price.
No, those people in those high up positions get cabinet appointments. That's how it works. Those are the people that end up being in charge in the executive branch. That's how it works.
And the issues that we're talking about right now, this is the real issues of society. These are the real problems that people have to face on a daily basis. You think Trump versus Kamala is the problem? If you still think that's the problem, you're fucked. You're fucked.
We're so far past that. Like, we're so far past that. Just that the study that was done that showed how few people actually have their will made through policy, like how few people that policy actually responds to. It's like the 0.01% of the people. I mean, we already are not living in a functioning republic. Like, we haven't been living in a functioning republic possibly ever, but it's just so apparent now. And they're just so brazen about it. But I do think that it's like what I always say about flying too close to the sun. And I do think that we're watching it unwind, and I'm pleased. I am pleased.
And this is one thing that I will say. I do think that there is a lot of benevolence in the people that are pro-life. I don't think that they're all nasty, greedy bastards. I think there are people that really believe that
they're just religious zealots that need to keep their religious philosophies to themselves.
And that's always been my attitude, which is I am completely in support of people's right to practice their religion. Keep it the fuck out of the state. This is why I can never be a Republican.
And here's the thing. this is the truth about it, and what I'll say to the people that are anti-choice. At the end of the day, if you support the concept of democracy, then you must accept that you're in the minority view on this issue. Otherwise, what you're saying is you're okay with the concept of the few completely controlling the majority, because
also,
most people support choice.
Which is also why when you get somebody like our Kanucky former friend who apparently doesn't want to watch our show anymore. Okay, whatever. Thanks, Daniel Mate. You lost one of our primary viewers, but we'll survive.
Well, we lost somebody who was all pissed off that I wouldn't address the Ukraine thing. I'm like, we're not even talking about that. People are nuts.
A lot of people are. I hope we bring a little sanity to the political arena, because that's really what our goal is. If our goal is to transform politics into service, our service is to show people exactly what's behind the curtain. Who is the real Wizard of Oz? Is it this big, scary man like Donald Trump, or is it actually somebody standing behind the curtain that's a small little man like Mark Zuckerberg, who's a real power player in the grand scheme of things? Bill Gates.
It's a group of them.
It's another example. That's who runs the show.
The Davos people, the people that go to Davos, those are the people in charge.
Correct.
That's who's in charge.
Klaus
and
Schwab,
everybody else works for them.
The closest thing you have to Emperor Palpatine in society is Klaus Schwab. There's your emperor. There's your Emperor Palpatine. That's who does it. But no one in corporate media is ever going to talk about this because they're paid not to. They're paid to talk about. Why do you think the cat story in Springfield, Ohio, is going to be talked about verbatim for weeks? Ohio is a red state. This has no effect on the election whatsoever. But that's the point. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's the same thing. Those days of the Democratic Party that once existed in the days of FDR, JFK, and LBJ, those days are gone. They've been gone for a generation. And there are still people holding on, thinking that it exists. Could you imagine Kamala Harris putting on a soft shoe and standing on a picket line?
No, I can't. I mean, all of this. Yeah, no. We don't have a Labor Party. And as much as Sean Fain would like to kind of contort and twist into a pretzel and make the Democratic Party fit that, just because I guess it used to fit it better than the Republican Party, I haven't seen them push through the PRO Act. I haven't seen them do a whole lot of stuff. And the fact that people are like raving about them with labor is, we're so used to crumbs. It's so pathetic.
And I will say this as an investor myself, the idea that Kamala Harris is being, and again, I am not saying she's dumb, because I don't think she's dumb, but the idea that she is out there proposing as one of her supposedly primary policy initiatives for her first 100 days in office is to push through a tax on the rich for unrealized capital gains. Do you know what that means? It means we're going to tax you for not doing anything.
Right.
And all I'm thinking is, couldn't you just restore the top marginal tax rate to 72%, which after all of the deductions would basically put the rich at paying an effective tax rate of about 25 to 30%? Is it really that hard? No, because the goal is not to do anything to change the infrastructure of the system. That's the point.